guys, welcome back to Anthony's Tennis Hub. My name's Anthony Hirsch, and today I'm going to go over different tennis events that happened last week. This podcast is coming a little bit late, so apologies for that, but I want to talk about some of the finals that happened last week, such as in Rio, such as in Doha, such as in Los Cabos. That'll be the first half of the podcast. The second half of the podcast is going to be me talking about the men's game and the era that we're in at the moment. The next era, the new era coming in, Sinner Alcaraz, also guys this week that performed, like Fonseca, like Mensik. I want to talk about where the men's game is at the moment, different big questions. That'll be at the end of the podcast. First half of the podcast, I'll talk about events that happened. There's also the biggest event that happened last week, Dubai event. I'm not going to be talking about that in this podcast. I will be discussing that on the Tennis 360 podcast that I put out every week on Quality Shot Tennis, different YouTube channel, Quality Shot Tennis. I put that out with Eliza Westcott, Tennis 360 podcast. I'll be talking about that there. I'm finding it a little bit harder to juggle talking about in-depth for men's tennis and women's tennis as I keep doing this channel. So probably from here on out, mostly I'll be discussing ATP tennis on this channel and this podcast. For Anthony's Tennis Hub, it'll be mostly ATP. Still some WTA, but it'll be mostly ATP content just from here on out. Just cause it's so hard with, with so much happening on both sides of the game. So I think it'll be mostly ATP with some WTA sprinkled in cause it's in a great spot at the moment as well. But, Doha this week was insane. You had KHACHANOV beating Mensik. Mensik coming out of the fray, had never beaten a top 50 opponent. Rublev was 10-0 against players outside of the top 20 this year. He's always crazy against the guys outside the top 20. If you can beat Rublev in straight sets when Rublev's playing well, guess what? Welcome to the big leagues. Mensik is crazy. Today he followed it up, by the way, with a win over Borna Coric after a great run to the final last week. And I mean, come on, man. Mensik is crazy. He's got the big serve, but he's also so good on defense. That was a big thing in the Rublev match. He was just so good at defense, defending out the corners. Just such a good athlete. And, it wasn't necessarily that he was like hitting crazy winners from defensive positions like a Medvedev or so, but he was so solid at just getting everything back, and his defense to offense was very good, and his serve was great. Against Rublev, 66% of first serves in, 81% of first serve points won, and 6 for 6 on break points saved. And clutched up in the tiebreaker, and then he had a chance to win the match and he took it. And that's it's easier said than done. To hit that big forehand when you get the chance and really put the match away. And he did it, and he went for it, and it was a great shot, and he won in 2 sets. Very complete. The serve, the forehand, the backhand can put a great drop shot in there as well. The athleticism is obvious right away. He slides a lot, it's open stance sometimes, and it's very, very impressive how often now we're getting people who slide on hard courts. I don't know if this is something that we're going to see more and more often. You could probably point it to Djokovic, who started off, showing people that people can do this, even that it's maybe scientifically possible even. But, Swiatek on the women's side as well now, doing fantastic. And, that open stance kind of shot is really, really killer. It's just, he's so impressive in every way. So much just easy power coming to him consistently. So aggressive. And, the final against KHACHANOV, it was high level. It was big serving. The first set was incredible from both. You saw it in every single stat. The serving stats in this match were as good as you'll see for a final the entire year. You maybe wouldn't expect it to come from Mensik versus KHACHANOV, although they are both great servers. But Mensik in his first final and KHACHANOV. But listen, it was great. It was incredible. Mensik hit 16 aces to 9 from KHACHANOV. The only stat from either first serve points won, second serve points won, or first serve percentage. The only stat from either player that wasn't at 68% or over was Mensik 65% on second serve points won, which is still so fantastic and pretty rare in in a final to have 65% of first serves in. Every other stat was at least 68% or over for first serve points won, first serves in, second serve points won from both guys. It was unbelievable. I mean, those are numbers that you only dream of. Mensik hit 33 winners to 10 errors, lost the match. KHACHANOV 23 winners to 7 errors. It came down to tiny margins and fine margins. It really did. Mensik was up 5-2 in the tiebreaker. Mensik hit this great kind of forehand shot. It looked like he was fully in control of the tiebreaker and the point. And then KHACHANOV Hail Mary backhand lob way up high, lands right on the baseline, finds a way back into the point. And then, after that, he had an extremely impressive backhand down the line, redirected from a pretty neutral shot, fairly tough position actually as well. And then he hits a winning forehand inside out off of Mensik's reply to that. But it was a great backhand down the line, defense to offense, amazing from KHACHANOV at that point. He held the next point, made it 5-4, double fault from Mensik to make it 5-5. And then, KHACHANOV had to save 4 set points. He had 3 big serves, saving set points at 5-6, 7-8, 11-12, and also at 9-10. He had a forehand winner cross court. He saved 4 set points confidently, clutch from KHACHANOV, aggressive. And, even more than those 4 set points though, the real chance was that 5-2 forehand from Mensik to put it away against KHACHANOV. That was the point. That was the chance to go up 6-2. Set would have been over. That was the real chance, not those 4 set points, because he didn't really have a play on any of those points. But yeah, it was a great tiebreaker, a great comeback. And then, in the second set, it was another great backhand down the line at a crucial moment at 30-all and a backhand cross court before a backhand error long from Mensik gave Karin the crucial break. And in the first game to break in the second set, first game of the second set. And Karin was just unstoppable on serve. I know Mensik hit more aces, but it looked like Karin was just unstoppable. Mensik looked like he ran out of gas a little bit. He ran out of legs. Absolutely nothing to say bad about Mensik. Literally, you can't say anything because, this guy beat Rublev. He went 3 hours and 30 minutes against Murray in the longest best of 3 set loss of his career. And also he beat Monfils in 3 sets. There's nothing really you can say. So, I don't know. And, completely understandable. But, Mensik continued to fight well. He got out a lot of tough games in the, second set. And he was holding well behind his serve. He was hitting well off of both of his wings. That made up for his legs being out of gas, his mental game. Mensik's mental game is so impressive right away. The way he can save break points and peak when he needs to and just, it's almost unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. I've rarely seen such a successful start at tour level for a young kid. He's 9-2 in his first 11 tour level matches. He reached the 3rd round of his first major. I mean, these are things you just don't see. And it's the mental side that is most impressive because he's gone through a lot of tight matches. Today it was 9-7 against Coric in a 3rd deciding set tiebreaker. So watch out Mensik. He's the real deal, I think. And we'll see how he keeps kind of doing. But for KHACHANOV, the forehand, the serve, so good. The backhand actually proved to be the really important shot and really solid in key moments. I mean, Karin really has a pretty complete game on him. Sometimes it's the lacking of a big weapon to compare to some of these other guys. That's why he struggles against top 10 guys so consistently. I'd love to see him snap that kind of losing ways. He snapped the streak against losing to top guys, but I think just with 1 win. And it would be good to see him get that better, but it's sometimes the variety, drop shots and, that kind of thing. But he was looking complete here, and, hopefully KHACHANOV can keep it up. I have an eye on KHACHANOV now. I think this is a guy that could win a Masters at some point. He won Paris 5 years ago. I think he might be even playing better now. And we'll see what happens. I mean, this is a guy that reached the semifinals of 2 events, of 2 Grand Slams back-to-back last year. And then he reached the quarterfinals of Roland Garros, completely outplaying Djokovic for a set and well over a set and a half up until the second set tiebreaker, where Djokovic picked it up and played amazing for the rest of the tournament. Where before that he was playing really subpar, very subpar to his regular level. And so that kind of, after that, Khachanov had to retire out of Wimbledon. Did have a few comebacks, did well in Zhuhai, got the title in Zhuhai, but it's good to see Khachanov kind of healthy and playing well, because I really think he's somebody to look out for. So we'll see what happens to Khachanov. He's a compelling name in there, and part of this kind of next gen that's not with like Sinner and Alcaraz, but more closer, I guess, to like Tsitsipas and Medvedev, maybe even closer to like a Dominic team. So the big three have kept off so many generations. I'll talk about that later in the video as well. Other things going on in Doha, you know, you had Monfils over Humbert. Monfils still looks so good. Played such a locked in, smart match against Humbert, and you know, Humbert wasn't solid enough. He went 1 for 6 on break points, but Monfils 22 winners, 6 errors. He was really impressive in that match, and it's good to see Monfils still have such incredible, defense, and he can still rely on an incredible pace of shot, and it's really just, it's amazing to see what Gael can do. He went 83% on first serve points won as well. So yeah, Monfils was incredibly impressive. Also, Murray tied up Ferrer for the 4th most wins of this century. He got 734 this week. He passed Ferrer. He also got his 500th hardcourt win. So shout out Andy's getting a few more wins in the bank. He got a win over Muller. And then also, what else is going on? Musetti is struggling. I don't know. Something's going on in Doha that I thought were fairly interesting. Then also in Los Cabos. So, this was one of the, wilder 250 events, that we'll see this year. It was really crazy. The top 4 seeds were way higher ranked than the other seeds, but none of them won the tournament. You had Casper Ruud, you had Stefanos Tsitsipas, you had Alex de Minaur, you had Sasha Zverev. None of them won the tournament. It was Jordan Thompson winning his first ATP title, spending literally over 18 hours on court, counting singles and doubles. And he had one of the most miraculous comebacks in separation, even from the fact that he won the tournament. Earlier in the tournament, he was down 6-0, 3-0. He was he hit like a ball at the back fence. He was angry. He was shouting. He was just raising his arms. It looked like the match was over. It looked like Mickelson was going to win a double bagel over Jordan Thompson. It was 6-0, 3-0. Thompson was at a loss for words. 6-0, 1-4, 15-40 down. Mickelson with 2 break points, and Thompson trying to just play on survival instinct. And then he turns it around. He wins the whole match. He's also down 5-3 Mickelson serving. And I just it really looked like so many times this match Thompson was out of it, and that he was able to play into the match so many times and stay alive. And then that's exactly what he does. And shout out to Jordan Thompson, one of the crazier comebacks. He had this celebration that he was doing with his coach every time. And, you love to see the confidence. And then over Zverev in 3 hours and 39 minutes, which could go down as the longest match of the whole season. One of the longest matches of the season, no doubt about it. It's about 11 minutes shorter than the Alcaraz-Djokovic match in Cincinnati last year. And then at this point, Thompson's already spent over 10 hours on court, just in singles. 3 hours, 39 minutes. He had 5 match points that Zverev saved before it went to a tiebreaker. And then he ran away with the tiebreaker, went up 6-1. It was a nuts match. It was really crazy, but Jordan Thompson continued to play well. And then in the Ruud final, Thompson played amazing. Ruud did not really show up with his best level, but I was more impressed by Thompson and the level he was bringing rather than unimpressed by Casper, because Casper's been struggling a little bit recently. It's not fully surprising, although he was playing amazing throughout this event. I do believe still in Casper greatly, and I think he will continue to pick it up, especially once we get to clay, but either way. But Thompson, in a first final, the things he's able to show, he continues to impress me with his game, and, just the backhand was really impressive in this match as well. It kind of proved to be a crucial shot at a lot of different moments. And I can give you kind of a rundown of some crucial moments in this match. First, I'll give you stats. Thompson clutch 11 for 13 on saving break points. Casper was 0 for 2. Casper also made 57% of first serves in, which especially for Casper is not good enough. 53% of second serve points won, which is just not ideal. 80% of first serve points won, so it was good when it went in, but 57% first serves in and 53% of second serve points won is just not good enough, just in separation. 53% second serve points won. That's one of those stats that's not going to be good for like any player. The second serve points won, but surely not good in this situation for Casper, especially with the serve that he's got. Thompson, fantastic. 28 winners, 8 unforced errors. Casper, 15 winners, 12 errors. Set 2, it's listed on the HB website, and I kind of believe this. Maybe it's a little bit kind to Thompson, but 10 winners, 6 errors for Casper. 15 winners, 2 unforced errors for Jordan Thompson. Thompson played out of his head in this final. It was 2-2 in the first set, 15-40. Thompson's serve set up a forehand winner and a serve and volley. And then a solid serve down the tee sets up very good backhand volley that then set up a good forehand volley put away, but it was a very solid backhand volley at a crucial moment because Casper was trying to get the break. There's a lot of serve and volley throughout this match from Thompson, a lot of great variety, and like I said, the backhand was hitting very well. Very complete game from Jordan Thompson, and it's really almost a revelation how well Thompson played in this tournament. Clearly top 20 level, like almost top 15 or top 10. He played amazing. Just in this tournament alone, incredible level. And it shows with the fact that he beat Zverev and Ruud in back-to-back matches. Ruud, who just beat Tsitsipas after a great comeback against Mickelson, who had beaten Alex de Minaur in incredible fashion in comfortable straight sets. So Jordan Thompson was at the top of the food chain, and that's a crazy thing to say, just in general. So, and then 3-2, Thompson gets to love 40 with a double fault. And then it was a bad forehand unforced error out of nowhere from Casper in a rally. Then a terrific point that Thompson played, a great backhand cross-court angle. Then a great backhand volley that behind Casper as he was running the other way to protect the line. And then a backhand cross-court angle again. And then he targets the Casper backhand on break point. He runs around backhand, hits a forehand winner inside in. Breakout love against Casper. He breaks Casper at love. With just a terrific strategy. So confident that backhand cross court, and he's able to rally on that shot and attack that Casper backhand. Then he hits a forehand inside in winner. Breakout love is crazy. At 5-3, as Thompson's serving it out, Casper gets a break point at advantage. He finds himself way behind the baseline. Thompson dictating a lot, as he did throughout this match. I mean, Ruud doesn't necessarily want to be dictating that much, although he does want to more, especially on hard courts, but he was finding himself way too far behind the baseline consistently. And, he has a play out of backhand actually, but whether it's a pass or a setup for a pass, but he goes for a lob instead. It's way too far behind the baseline. It's a very low percentage shot. Actually, we saw a lot of lobs all throughout this match. It was kind of crazy. But Thompson was hitting the smash very well throughout this match, so it wasn't that good of a play for Ruud. It was a better play for Thompson, who hit some great lobs throughout this match. But anyway, Casper goes for the lob, and Ruud, I constantly think, has an underrated lob, one of the best lobs in the game. Kind of reminds me of Andy a little bit, in many ways, does Casper. Maybe I'll make a video about that eventually, but, his lob is great, and but Thompson's smash was too good. He puts it away, and the net play from Thompson is so good. That's why he won the title in doubles this week as well, which is so crazy. Anyway, another break point, serve and volley, backhand drop volley. Ruud just misses the forehand flick cross court, just by an inch or an inch and a half. Then it's a flashy banana shot, literally a banana shot from Jordan Thompson, probably his best shot of the match. At deuce, sets up a set point where Ruud misses a backhand return long. That's the first set. Thompson, fantastic. Second set, 0-1, 15-40. Casper starting off strong. Casper misses 2 forehand returns long off of high percentage, good first serves. And then he finally breaks for the first time with a great forehand inside in. It looked like an angle that didn't even exist. And then, here's the crucial moment at 2-0. Ruud misses an easy smash at 2-0 to get to 15-30. Then at 30-all, Ruud dictating again, but he doesn't close in enough. He tries a low percentage backhand half volley, but he fully misses and mishits it. still struggling sometimes with the ins and outs of kind of the net game and transition game. And, he just, I don't know, it was just a nervy decision. He really wanted to close in, to be the one playing aggressive, and he just wasn't there for the volley. And then it was a great Thompson, great forehand return to neutralize a great big Casper serve. Casper, forehand +1. It looked like he was determined to come to net anyway, was Casper, even though Thompson really played a surprisingly good return to neutralize. Most players would have chipped it. He really hit over it off the return, managed to do that. Casper +1 forehand comes to net, but Thompson, a backhand lob that lands right on the baseline to break right back. One of the most crucial moments of the match, and one of his best shots of the match. Fantastic backhand topspin lob, just perfectly calibrated and perfectly designed, and it lands on the baseline. 5-3, 30 all. Thompson didn't put away chances. He starts the 5-4 game with an easy forehand inside out put away error. And then, Ruud just barely makes a squash shot over the net on break point, and an error ends the game. So Casper breaks at 15 at 5-4. And then it gets to a tiebreaker. Casper double faults at 2-2. Crucial rally at 4-2. Ruud can't do enough on the forehand. His forehand looked really loopy and not aggressive enough throughout the match. Didn't look like he was stepping in well enough. Ruud misses the forehand. And then at 5-4, Ruud misses the forehand in the net. Again, that forehand really just not doing him well. And then a huge serve down the tee from Thompson. Huge serving throughout this match. Then a forehand put away. Wins the event. Then comes back and wins the semifinals and the final in doubles the same day. One of the craziest tournament wins of the year, if you count doubles as well, especially, but maybe either way. Really either way. Especially considering it's a first tournament win. This is a guy who I couldn't believe hadn't won a tournament when I really realized this about a month ago. He had gotten to two finals in the Netherlands on grass courts. But, come on. To win your first title, Thompson's proven to be exciting. He always looks good out there. Not always. It's really the consistency that kind of lacks him. But often when I'm watching him, he looks very, very good and very clean. He's a skillful guy. He's a skillful guy. He's got the net. He's got the volleys. And, the way he can redirect the ball and hit well the lines, or hit, a good width, good depth. And he has a great serve. This is a guy who should be higher, and he has this weird kind of personality about him, but it's the guy with the glimmer in his eye that sometimes does the big things. He beat Rafa, saving 3 match points in Brisbane. I believe that hadn't been done since maybe it was Raonic who beat Rafa, saving 3 match points. I believe, and I think that's the only time that's happened, or maybe one of 2 times that's happened since 2005. So Jordan Thompson is doing big things. This was a great tournament win. First guy to win in singles and doubles since Kyrgios in Washington of 2022. I love the guys playing doubles when they can manage it without getting too tired. Actually, at the slams now, it's not best of 5, so even at Wimbledon, which is crazy. So, maybe more opportunity for guys to do that. But I think in a lot of ways this can help, especially as I think the game is going to keep fluctuating and changing. I think we could get maybe not to where it was in the 80s and, early mid-90s where people were coming to net a lot all the time, serving and volleying. But I think the game will keep fluctuating. People will respond to Medvedev standing way behind the baseline. People will respond to Alcaraz hitting drop shots and cutting them, catching them off guard, playing way behind the baseline. And people will start coming to net more to cut off those kind of options. And I think that, the game will keep fluctuating. And I think that, I hope that people start to play more doubles again. The last guy to win a major, winning both men's doubles and men's singles, was Kafelnikov, 1996 Roland Garros. So, anyway, Ruud also had a great match over Tsitsipas, which was really phenomenal. So, Casper had a great week, but just not good enough. I still think on hard courts, clay courts is probably the surface where I think he's consistently elite, but I think he's a top 10 guy across the board outside of grass courts. Probably, no offense, Casper. I don't think there's any grasper. I don't think that's a conversation to be had, but on clay and hard courts, I think that Casper is somebody to look out for, and especially on clay when we get to clay, so hopefully he can keep building up the form. He's already looking better this season. I would say the same thing about Fritz as well, even though they've had a few subpar losses. Fritz had one today. I still think they're building up their form and playing better, so hopefully they can continue to do that. Rio Alcaraz retires against Montero because he slips and got injured in the second point of the match. Fonseca, 17-year-old Brazilian. Great win over Arthur Feast's first ATP win. And you beat a top 45 guy, future top 10 guy, very likely, in Arthur Feast. And he beats him 6-0, 6-4. Completely fearless, explosive power, great movement, fantastic lateral movement. And this is a guy that is just so impressive. He also beats Cristian Garin, although Garin had not won a match this year coming into this tournament. But he beats Garin. He loses to Navone, who got to the final. And Navone also beat Nori, the defending champion. Good to see Dusan Lajovic doing well. He's always a danger on clay. I just want to shout him out because he's been having kind of sneaky good wins the last few weeks. I feel I'm cooking something for the clay once we get to the Masters. So we'll see. I think something about Lajovic. But Baez is so good. He beats a slightly better Francisco Cerundolo playing slightly better. But the final is two Argentines born in the 2000s. I won't go forever on this final, but I did watch the replay and caught some of the highlights. It was just Baez a step above. At the Australian Open, on hard courts, but I've seen Baez play decently well as well, by the way. Baez is a next-gen guy going under the radar. Once again, I'll talk about some of the next-gen at the end of this video, but, Baez is a guy who has now won 4 titles over the last 2 seasons. The only other guys to do that are named Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic, and Medvedev. Pretty good. Those are pretty good players. He becomes the 5th guy. I don't know if he's part of the Big 5. Maybe Rublev or Zverev or, whoever you'd want to put in there would feel offended, Runa. But, I still think that Baez is crazy impressive. Manarino, by the way, I think the next one up on that list with 3 titles. But yeah, so Baez in this match, he was just a step above. What I was going to say was at the Australian Open against Jannik Sinner, he lost 6-0 the first set, lost in comfortable straight sets. It was kind of like, it felt like Baez wasn't even playing a bad match. By his standards, he was playing very well. And it's not an insult to Baez. It's more of a compliment to Sinner. Baez was playing really well. It's just Sinner right now is a step above. This is what it felt like for Baez in this match. It felt like a lightweight versus a heavyweight, just like in that match, Baez against Sinner. And Baez made 79% of his first serves in. He won 68% of those points, crucially. And Navone, he saved 8 out of 14 break chances. Gave way too many break chances to Baez, who was able to put 6 of them away, break 6 times. Here are some of the kind of big moments of this match, a few of them. At 40-15 at 0-1, this was really a crucial moment in the second game. Navone had a very simple put away. He goes for a backhand, kind of a jumping backhand, and he misses it into the net. After that, he kind of looked almost shocked. He thought he already had the game won. The classic, Baez comes back in the game and wins the game. In the next point, it was a weird bounce off the line. Then Baez plays 2 great dictating points, Navone hitting errors. And that's really what it came down to. Navone's backhand was breaking down a lot. He has a massive backswing on that shot. These are 2 Argentines born, 2 young Argentines. His backhand was the worst shot on the court. Neither guy a great server, which really let Baez into the match. He won, I believe, 6-2, 6-1. Only dropping 3 games, his first ATP 500. Navone was going aggressive, but missing. Baez's defense so good, getting so many balls back. At 0-3, 30-40, Navone should have won the point, but he misses the volley as Baez really tests him with the defense. Baez's defense is often very surprising. Like, the top guys can just put away that next shot, but he makes it difficult. He keeps it low. He surprises you by getting one more back. You have to really be on your toes and be impressive to really put Baez away, which is really impressive, like top tier impressive, which is something that a guy like Navone might not be able to do. Baez is backhand way better in this match. Off backhand to backhand, also some great forehand cross courts, but the backhand to backhand, he was just consistently such great width off the ball, being able to hit side to side and redirect the ball well. And, in the second set, it was a simple forehand missed long at 4-2, love 30 from Navone. He was very inconsistent. He hit some great shots, though few winners, but some very impressive, skillful shots either way. But also, to add to the very skillful shots, some very, very, very poor winners. Very, very poor winners. And Baez was just so solid. So, he was really just either really up or really down. But he seems like a talented guy, but he really needs to hone in on the game and make it more consistent. And, in the last game, it's a deuce game, ends with a good forehand inside out. Then a backhand slice by Navone into the net. Variety is not really there for him, and Baez is just too much. Too many errors. Too many errors from Navone, and Baez gets the match. Another young guy this week doing well to add to guys like Mickelson, to Fonseca, to Mensik, all doing well. Those guys are all teenagers. Mickelson, Fonseca, and Mensik. Of the three, Mensik is the guy that's really standing out to me at the moment, but Fonseca is only 17, so he's got loads of time to impress me as well. Mensik becomes the youngest guy to beat a top 5 player since Alcaraz at the 2021 US Open by beating Rublev and got to the final as well, followed up those victories, which is the more impressive thing, even than getting the victory in the first place to me. And I really do mean that. To follow up those victories, we see guys getting victories. Not all the time do we see them following it up in the way that those guys have. And now I want to transition into the young guys and talking about this era of men's tennis, which I think should be a lot of fun and something I've kind of wanted to do for a long time, to be honest. But, here's kind of my thoughts on kind of the next era. There are so many guys in this, like, coming up. It's crazy. I keep thinking and remembering of new ones, whether it's Sebastian Baez or Alexander Shevchenko, or even guys who are older, like KHACHANOV or Taylor Fritz or Sebastian Korda, I meant to say. Or Taylor Fritz, who's a little bit older than Korda. Or you have a guy like Tiafoe. Obviously, 25, 26, 27-year-olds, you have a lot of guys. You have Medvedev, you have Tsitsipas, you have Ruud. But then you look at the younger guys. You've got Sinner, you have Alcaraz, you have Rune, you have Draper, you've got Artur Fils, you have Mensik, you have Fonseca, you have Prismic. You have so many guys that are in there and in the hunt and in the conversation that it really makes you excited by even considering the possibility that some of these guys, especially as they keep improving, the potential that they have. These guys are guys, and I think I've said this before, but these are guys that can earn some big titles. A lot of those guys. Maybe not everybody, but these are a lot of guys that can earn big titles. And at least earn titles on the tour, 500s. And that's really exciting to me. And maybe slams as well for some of them as well. And it makes me excited for an era that might not be like the Big Three era. The Big Three era, people keep looking for a new Big Three. And my answer to that is every era is different. We didn't have a Big Three before the Big Three era. But those eras were fine. Like, the era before this was completely different. Before the Big Three era, and guess what? After that era ended, more than any other era in the past, people were wondering, arguably more than any other era in the past, people were wondering, who's going to be the next guy up to keep tennis alive and keep saving the sport? This is something that you see discourse of nowadays. But it's a thing that holds true. Back in the day, people were saying, Sampras and Agassi, such icons. Courier as well. Edberg. These are players that are such icons. How is this era going to be followed up with the height of sport rivalry that we've seen between Sampras and Agassi and the icons that they have? Sampras, just forcefully pushing the sport to a new level. Still the record for most consecutive year-end number ones by Sampras. 14 majors. And, the iconic shots he hit, the slam dunk. These are two guys that were so different in every way, Sampras and Agassi, but they're such icons of the game. And, they really built something up in tennis that was hard to follow up. And you had people looking at the list of names. You had people looking at the list of names of Federer and Hewitt and Ferrero and, other guys like Fernando Gonzalez and this and this and this and this. And people are like, who's going to be the next guy? Like, people are like, I don't know who the next guy is. People are looking. People are looking. Tommy Haas as well. There's a whole list of guys. There's almost a next gen, thing. People were trying to make the next gen happen. I remember finding an article from 2004, 2005, or from 2003 or 2002, rather, which said something like, I think it was from 2003, before Federer won Wimbledon, which said something like, who is going to be the next guy up? Who could possibly follow up Sampras, who had just retired at the U.S. Open? People were confused. People were saying, nobody's going to follow it up. Tennis might keep going, but it's going to be tough. look at what happened with Roger and the incredible dominance he had, the unprecedented longevity that he had, and then obviously Novak and Rafa following him up with remarkable longevity, and, you know, with just all three becoming three of the best players in the history of the sport, and all playing at the same time from 2010 to 2016. They only, between them and Murray, they only didn't win 4 Masters titles in that period. That's 54 Masters titles, 9 played a year. Only 4 of them they didn't win, any of them. And slams, you know, only 5 guys won Australian Open, Roland Garros, or Wimbledon. 3 of the 4 biggest tournaments of the year. Only 5 different players won those tournaments from 2005 to 2023. This is an era that's unprecedented. This is an era we're not going to see again. Doesn't mean that the sport is done. No. The sport doesn't finish. And I think the first bit of it that happened that really made me excited about the new era and made me feel very, made my worries reserved. To add to the fact that I know that tennis eras keep going and that we will continue to see great players in rivalries. I already have that faith from what we've seen in the past. But to add to that was the Sinner-Alcaraz match at the US Open 2022. I'm going to do a video fully on that match soon. Because that's one of my favorite matches. I think it deserves that kind of video. But I want to talk about it. But, you know, I think that the thing about the thing about tennis eras that people don't get is that we don't necessarily need to have a big 3 when we have 2 guys like Sinner and Alcaraz who are so talented and who can bring the best out of each other. They have such a nice friendship with each other, one of the nicest friendships we've had between 2 rivals of this kind of stature. And on court, it's as intense as it gets, especially at this match in US Open 2022, when neither guy was a very good server. Neither guy was a top 10 level server. They were absolutely like top 5 returners though. And every game was like so intense. I was tuned in the whole time. And it was a tug of war. It was a mental battle. They checked every box for what we've been waiting for young guys to give to us for so many years. And they forced that out of each other. Because guess what? If you don't stand up to my level, I'm getting to the semifinals. Both guys trying to get to their first semifinal. And both guys with Alcaraz with the chance to get to world number 1, which he did do. Both guys with the chance to get their first major. I'll talk about that match more. But that match to me and the fresh, dynamic, exciting shot making that they were showing, not just power baseline rallies, but so many, like every shot in the book, including a behind the back shot, jumping up, where he won the point in a crucial moment in the second set. So many amazing moments throughout that match. That match said to me, we're going to have an amazing era. And to me, the next era, if I was to guess, is going to be an era where Sinner and Alcaraz spearhead. And you see that with the win rate they have. And you can put to me Holger Rune, and he might do it. Any of these guys could. You give me Alexander Shevchenko. Maybe. I don't know. Anything can happen. The future is completely uncertain. Medvedev was pretty much ranked outside the top 30 for most of his career until he was like 23 or 24. And then he started becoming this top tier player that we all know. And started playing the most unorthodox, ridiculous way possible after he was very aggressive early on in his career. Very weird also with the form on his shots, but, so you never know, right? But Rune at the moment, he's got 60.7% win rate. You know, that, and you can do what, like, listen, Sofin had like a 60 or 62% win rate as well. So it's not all about win rate. It's about what matches you win, right? But Sinner and Alcaraz, that's a big stat. And Sinner and Alcaraz are way higher in win rate. And I'll tell you the exact numbers. But Sinner's has been high for a long time. Every season of his career, he's had a winning record. Sinner, 73.2% win percentage. Arguably only getting better. Actually, it's not even arguable. It just is getting better. If he keeps going how he is. He's won his last 15 matches. And then also, Carlos is 77.8% win rate. I mean, these are the 2 guys, and we'll see how the other guys can step up to their level, but both guys are over a 13% increase, and that is, you can't even overstate how big of an increase that is when we're talking about win rate percentage, 13 points. So I'm just saying, like, you know, we need to kind of, if we're going to characterize what the next era is, I think Sinner and Alcaraz will spearhead, but we're going to have so many other guys in the hunt as well. And, you know, the live ATP rankings website has a great a great tool where you can look at the under 25 guys, the under 25 guys of the rankings and go by rankings. So here's what it is. So Alcaraz, Sinner, Rune, Shelton, Baez, Fokina, Musetti, Echeverry, Korda, Auger-Aliassime, Lehechka, Arnaldi, Poprin, Rusevori, Fils, Draper, Shevchenko, Kecmanovic. We're still in the top 50 in the world. Diaz-Acosta, Morazan, Navone, Caboli, Mahac, Sebach-Wield, Kazau, Hijikata, Alex Mickelson, who I'm excited about, Mensik, who I'm also excited about, Darderi, Luka Van Asch, who I think has top 10 potential, to be honest, Brandon Nakashima. Then you have guys lower down like Luca Nardi, you have Mute, you've got Shapo still in there. You've got other guys I'm excited about like Shung, like Wu, like Nava. You know how you have so many guys. Dino Prismic is down there as well. And then you have guys over 25 that are quite fantastic as well and going to be around for a while, like Medvedev, hopefully. Hopefully Medvedev. His style of play is only going to get harder to play with. So we'll see how long Medvedev's going to stick around, which, by the way, just about gets me to the next section where I talk about not just the next era, but talk about the some of the biggest questions in men's tennis at the moment. But so here's the thing. So some other guys, you know, who are not under 25, but are, you know, I'll say like 25 to 28 who are fantastic. I'm just looking through the rankings here. So purely looking through the rankings. Medvedev, Rublev, Zverev, Hurkacz, Demonor, Fritz, Ruud, Tsitsipas. That's all in the top 12. Tommy Paul, Khachanov, Tiafoe, Hugo Humbert. And I know I'm dragging on a little bit, but Nicholas Jarry, Bublik. You know, you have other guys. I'll just name a few other ones and then I'll get to kind of the point. But, you know, you have Zhang, who's also young. You have, who else do you have? You have a guy like Max Purcell, who's only just climbed up. He's 25. You have a guy like, who else do you have in here? There's one other name that I want to mention as well. Kovacevic, who's an American, who just climbed inside the top 100 in the world. JJ Wolf is another guy. We'll see how he can do. But anyway, the point is, Yibing Wu's not in that point in the rankings, but there's so many players that are exciting. Who knows what their ceilings are, but you can just go on and on and on with a list of names. And many of those names are impressive. Like, you look at a guy like Draper, you look at a guy like Musetti, if he can figure it out. I don't know what this hole is he is in at the moment, but you look at a guy like Alex de Minaur. These are guys you can imagine, even if they don't get to like the top 5 in the world, they could win a Masters at some point. Surely. At least a guy like Draper, you know, even if you don't believe in like Musetti's potential or Alex de Minaur for him to win a Masters. These are guys that you can surely suspect could win some at some point. So there's so many guys that are going to be around with chances and that you can be excited about for the next little bit. There are always going to be lots of great players, but there's so many young talents coming up at the moment that I think are going to keep improving and get to a level that really makes this a unique era. That's my opinion on it. I don't know exactly who I would say. This gets me to kind of my next kind of thing, but I don't think we need to have a dominance for it to be, for this era of young players to be really exciting, because I think something that people missed in the Big Three era was the unpredictability factor, which adds a lot to entertainment value. You know, there's a great thing to see about people breaking records, and we could still have some of that with the guys at the top like Alcaraz and Sinner, hopefully, if they stay healthy. But breaking records is great. The other thing is about unpredictability. And the thing about unpredictability is you have to play it right. Because you don't want to be unpredictability to be completely chaotic, where it's not based off anything. It's not based off of great talent. It's not based off of great hard work. It's based off of the fact that everything is happening chaotically. And, you know, some people might be choking matches, or people are doing this, people are doing, you don't want that, right? But what you do want is so many guys being so good and nobody being at like Rafael Nadal level where they're just like almost superhuman. You know, so people get chances. That's exciting too. And I think people are going to realize it's exciting, especially while we have guys like Sinner and Alcaraz who probably are going to win multiple majors. So we'll still have some of that. That's what I hope for from this next era. You can't really, you know, craft what an era is going to look like. We can only actually craft what our perspective of an era is. But I think that a lot of people, by the time that Djokovic, passed the slam record at Roland Garros, they're like, Jesus Christ, this guy won another Australian Open. This guy's winning this major on clay. I mean, come on, man. Like, unless you're like a diehard Novak fan, which I like Novak too. I like seeing him succeed. But it was like, Jesus, like, when are we going to get a new guy? Because I want fresh blood. I want new blood. I picked Alcaraz for Roland Garros last year. I really thought it was his time. He started cramping against Novak, but Novak still played great. He won that tournament, and then he won the US Open. But people, I think, are ready for a new era. We'll see what it brings. That's what I hope it brings. And it brings me to this next part of this kind of section of the video where, big questions for the game at the moment. So, big questions for the game at the moment. So, I'll do this. So, who are the top 7 guys, to look for? Like, who are the top 7 guys to look for, from the young guys? I wanted to do this. And, you know what? Instead of picking, from like Medvedev and the other guys, I'll just do the guys 24 and under. Because I think it makes it easier. To be honest. Actually, Ruud and Tsitsipas are 25, I believe. Ruud and Tsitsipas are 25. Maybe I'll do like 25 and under. It does make it harder because the site I'm using does only 25 and under, but I feel like I can do that pretty confidently and get the results that I want. So, 25 and under. Let's see. So that includes Ruud, Tsitsipas, De Minaur. Okay, so Ruud, Tsitsipas, De Minaur, and then also Hugo Humbert is in there as well when we do 25 and under. Okay, so basically those are the 4 guys that I'll be considering plus the 24 and under. And in fact, I will write down those names for me as well. But okay, so I'll do a top 7 kind of young guys in my opinion to look out for. So, Alcaraz and Sinner. It would be crazy of me not to include those 2. I'll do Alcaraz and Sinner. And you know what? I'm actually going to order it as well, just to make it fun, just to make it a little bit more fun. Add another element to it. I'll try to order it as well. So, okay. So, Alcaraz and Sinner. I think a lot of people know that, I quite enjoy watching Jannik play, all of that. I'm a fan of Jannik. I'm high on him. I've been high on him for multiple years. I'm going with Alcaraz for number 1. And I think that it's just the thing of, he has a higher win rate, and he's in a bad moment at the moment, but to me, he's already proven himself what he can do. Fearless in the big moments. I think there's a misconception with Alcaraz. He's not gonna ever be this kind of, perfect player that, has all the shots and is gonna, just steamroll to 40 majors. I don't see that happening. I've never seen that happening. I've long predicted, for a long time I predicted Alcaraz would get to 12 or 13 majors on a best guess. I have no idea. And he could get to, like, the slam record. It's possible. But I've long predicted 12 or 13 majors, and I have had concern for injury as well. I've not been the guy to say I'm not concerned. I've had those concerns. So with those factors, I said probably 11 or 12 majors. I think the misconception comes with the fact that he plays such a low percentage game, but he's been able to do it in such a high percentage way for him because he's so talented. He is, like, it is unbelievable how talented this guy is. It is unbelievable how athletically impressive he is. And to me, he has a very good head on his shoulders as well. I'm high on Alcaraz's mentality. Even in his last, like, kind of big match, I think we saw that in the final Cincinnati, where he saved multiple match points. He's fearless in the big moments. He was, I believe, going into Cincinnati, I would like to say he was 6-0 in big finals, 2-0 in slam finals, 4-0 in Masters finals. So I think he likes the big moments. He generally has a really good finals record, 12-3, a lot of those including big tournaments. So I think the misconception comes with the fact that he has so many shots in his arsenal. He's figuring out exactly when to use which shots. The serve is a weakness. Needs to figure out the serve. I actually don't buy into the fact that he hasn't improved the serve. I think he has. Last year, I saw a big improvement in the serve, or at least a decent enough improvement in the serve from 2022, 2023, which is more of a kind of a dig at 2022, if even a dig, because it's so impressive. This kind of almost all-time season he had in 2022, especially for his age, considering the fact that he had a very weak serve. He had a very weak serve in 2022. He was giving guys a lot of chances. And, he didn't lose a single straight sets match until October that year. He won the U.S. Open that year. He won Madrid that year, beating Rafa and Novak back-to-back on clay, two of the best clay players ever, which is something that had never been done before. So, Alcaraz's serve is the weakness, but he's been able to do mighty well. I think he improved in 2023. It's part of what helped him, I think, at Wimbledon. The forehand was looking really big at Wimbledon too, but I think it was like the serve and then the forehand +1. He likes having time to set up his shots as well and set up the points, which is part of why I think he likes slower surfaces, but it was very impressive how well he kind of adjusted and adapted his game to grass courts as well, and he was playing really aggressive. But anyway, the serve I think has improved, but it still needs a lot of improvements. But it's the shot selection, right? And the mentality, and strategy, strategically, I think is a big thing. But part of it is the fact that he has so many shots in his arsenal, figuring out when to use which shots. But the fact that he plays such a low percentage game makes it so that he's going to have low lows. He's going to have very low lows. And also, by the way, it's not like Jannik has not. Jannik's whole career has been built off lows. He's been welcoming that in with a smile, which is the big thing. He's been getting stronger each time, just focusing completely on himself, being very work-based rather than results-based. And that's allowed him to kind of, take the pain from the losses, but grow stronger from them and see what he needs to learn. He's been really genuine to himself as a person, but as a player as well, which is the more important thing for the, for the game. And he's been able to just perfect his game. And, now he's still going to have to figure things out, but it's just two different ways of going about it. Alcaraz has been pretty much amazing out the gate, and Sinner has been as well, by the way. First player born in this millennium to reach a slam quarterfinal. And, he reached the fourth round of all majors, I believe, before he turned 22. Reached all of them twice before he turned 22. So Sinner's been impressive young too, but he's been kind of struggling. He's losing a lot of long matches. He had physical problems. He had problems with the serve. He had problems with the variety. It's so many problems. Pretty much every problem you could name. He figured it out. He used it to work hard. And then, and Alcaraz needs to, now that he's kind of jumped up to the spot, figure out the ins and outs. It might be a little bit harder for him this way, but he's still in such a great moment, and I think we're going to see him back well. And also, it's his surface versatility and consistency throughout the season. I think he's going to be absolutely remarkable on all three surfaces, which is something I think he's already proven by this point, by the fact that he's won a major on hard courts and grass courts, and the fact that he has already won Masters on clay, multiple titles in Madrid. And the fact that since July 2021, he's won over 88% of his matches on clay courts. So I think that pushes Alcaraz to number one. So anyway, Alcaraz number one. I go to number two, Sinner. And I mean, people talk about Sinner all the time. I'm not going to even go too much into Sinner, but the way he's improved, which I kind of talk about, is just so phenomenal. And his serve is one of the best in the game now, which is not that surprising with like the height and the pace that he's able to get and the precision he's able to get off his ground strokes. He's been able to figure it out, but going platform to pinpoint on the serve has really helped him out. So I think that Jannik's been amazing. He's going to win multiple majors. He's going to be future world number one. I've said these things for multiple years, and I say that he's going to do that now. That's my kind of belief. So those are the top two. And then, so now I need to figure out my number three guy in this hypothetical. I'm not going to necessarily think way too deep about this because it is so unpredictable and hard to say. I'm going to go number three, Holger Rune. That feels like a no-brainer. Mensik's looking mighty good though. If we're including Mensik, screw it. I'm going to go Mensik. I'll go Mensik number three. And I know that breaks all the rules. It breaks all of my rules as well, by the way. No, I'm going to say Rune. I'll go Rune. I was going to put Mensik there. And then I thought about it and I was like, I'm gauging it too early. There's so many other questions to ask. The thing is, Mensik's checked all the boxes so far. But it's only all the boxes so far in his first 15 matches. He needs to check a lot more boxes. I'll go with Holger for number 3. I'm not as high on Holger as some people, but I do think that he's incredibly impressive. He's a pretty complete player. He just needs to get his weapons to the point of, Sinner and Alcaraz. I should say Sinner and Alcaraz. But he's got a complete player, great serve. He's got great skills. He's got incredible speed laterally and moving up and down the court. Got great variety from the back of the court too. He's got a lot to work with as well. Once he gets stasis in his box, he should do well. There are things that I worry about though, like shot selection. The physical aspect is something I do worry about. Especially because he puts so much hours in and yet he's still struggling physically, but he is a young guy. So you always have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he can be good on all 3 surfaces. Clay courts, I think especially he'll be a big problem. And I think that, I like Rune, and I don't know if he's a future world number 1. I really don't. I'd feel confident to say he's a future world number 2 at some point. And I think he will win a major or 2, particularly at Roland Garros. I think he'll have chances. Australian Open, maybe. But I'm not the guy who thinks he's going to be necessarily the Djokovic to the Roger and Rafa that are Sinner and Alcaraz, which is the reality some people have made. Rarely do sports become that poetic. But, Holger is a passionate guy, and that passion is important. And I think it will get him to number 3, especially because he has so much to offer already. That Paris final, beating Djokovic in that way, and then following it up as well with 2 clay Masters finals on clay the next year, and also Roland Garros quarterfinal. I think it means something, and I'm giving him number 3. Number 4, I'm going to go with Mensik, actually. I've decided I'm going to go with Mensik. No, it's still too early for Mensik. I'm going to literally push Mensik off of my top 7. I'm going to keep saying Mensik's going to be in there, and then I'm just going to keep pushing him off. Poor Mensik. Jakub Mensik is fantastic. I just need to gauge him more. I'm going to go with Artur Fils. Artur Fils is somebody I'm extremely excited about. I've been excited about him from challenger tournaments. I've said it before, the real sign of talent and sustainability and longevity in tennis, I think isn't coming from the fact that you can hit, and the sign of talent as well, isn't necessarily the sign that you can, hit incredible shots, like hit an incredible tweener, or hit an 120 miles per hour forehand, just off a very simple shot, a very easy put away shot. That's not the sign of that's not the sign of what we're looking for. The sign of what we're looking for is really being able to perform in difficult moments and off of difficult shots, and to be able to generate pace as pace is coming at you. That's a sign of talent, like for Rublev, and like for Artur Fils as well. Not necessarily generating pace, but he's able, even off of neutral ground strokes, to be able to just hit outrageous forehand winners out of nowhere, which is something I saw with Fonseca as well this week. It's these young guys with really explosive power, and Artur Fils is impressive. I think he's going to have a great highlight reel at the end of his career, but I also think he's just a great player. Especially on clay courts, I think he's going to be good, but I don't know, maybe he'll figure it out on the other surfaces as well. Who knows? He's still so young and so new. So anyway, I've been excited about Fils. I think he's just a great talent, a great athlete. I think he has what it takes. Very passionate guy. I've seen him fight well through big moments. It's going to take some time, but I go with Artur Fils. Okay, this is where it gets tough next, because we've got players like Mensik, Korda, Draper. I just thought of somebody that I'm kind of forgetting. Oh, you have Tsitsipas. I am including Tsitsipas, right? Oh man, it gets only tougher and tougher, huh? It only gets tougher and tougher. Now I gotta think about it. Because there's so many names that are tempting. Also, Kazal is a name that I like as well, by the way. But of the big hitting names, I would say Draper, FAA, Korda, Musetti, Shelton. Draper, Korda, FAA, Musetti, Shelton. I'll write down the names I'm working with. Draper, FAA, Korda, Shelton, and I named one other name there. Mensik, Musetti. Okay, so Mensik, Musetti. Let me see. Did I miss any names? I think those are the names I'm mostly working with. Some people are really high on Fokina. I'm not as high on Fokina. Lehechka is a young guy who's in the hunt as well. He's 22 years old. Huge forehand. I'm not predicting it. I'll also put Mickelson and Van Asch on my list. Okay, I'll cap it off there, though, and then I'll decide between these names for the next 3 spots. So, Mickelson, and, okay. So, okay, now with these names, I will make my kind of predictions. Okay, so Ruud, Tsitsipas, Humbert, Demonor, Draper, FA, Korda, Shelton, Mensik, Musetti, and Mickelson, I think are the guys that I'm mostly working with. I'll put Van Aschen there as well. So, okay, these are the guys. Alright, this is tough. So, Casper Ruud is a guy that I'm more high on than some people. I think he's a big talent. Tsitsipas has already performed incredibly well in his career so far. It would be tough to not say Tsitsipas, but I'm going to go with Mensik next. I think that's an easy choice to go with Mensik. Mickelson is a bit of a gamble because I really am very high on Mickelson and his potential. I think he can go far. He's a hardworking guy. I know he's a bit messy. He's a little bit inconsistent, but he has so many shots in his arsenal. He's kind of a big guy, but he doesn't play like a big serving guy. He's very fast, good speed. He redirects the ball well. It would be a big take from me. But I'm very curious. I'm not going to go with Felix anymore, which makes me very sad. Almost all the time I would have went with Felix. I'm going to go Draper, actually. And then for the next one, I'm deciding between Korda and Shelton. And constantly I've been putting Korda above Shelton for people that I'm most confident about, which I know is an unpopular opinion. And I can be wrong. I really can be wrong. But you know what? I'm not going to go with either of those guys. I'm deciding now between Tsitsipas and Ruud. I think Tsitsipas and Ruud are better options, actually, for me, in my opinion. Now, everybody can make their own lists. This is my opinion. Humbert is a good name as well, but I'm deciding between Ruud and Tsitsipas, actually, for the 7th spot. Tsitsipas is just so consistent compared to Casper generally. It's hard not to go Tsitsipas. He's already achieved great things. I really didn't think I would go with Steph. Should I go with Korda? Now I'm thinking about Korda again. Screw it. I'm just going to go with Korda and leave it there. Alright, number 1 Alcaraz, number 2 Sinner, number 3 Rune, number 4 Feast, number 5 Mensik, number 6 Draper, number 7 Korda. Of course, Fonseca, we have no idea yet. And so many of these guys, there's a 14-year-old in Spain who's amazing and is shouting at me, I should be in the video. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I don't know you. And I also it's impossible to gauge. It's impossible. So we're going to leave it there. Alcaraz, Sinner, Rune, Feast, Mensik, Draper, and Korda. Jack Draper, so skillful, big shots, big forehand, big serve. In the challengers, I was excited about him, but he was really exciting as soon as he got to the ATP Tour. Snap of the fingers. He started beating top guys. His kind of fearless nature on him and the kind of, aggressive kind of thing in his eyes where he's just going to go after a killer instinct was obvious right away. Even though on the mental game, actually, he does need to improve a little bit. We saw that in his first ATP final against Manarino towards the end of last year. But he's when I watched him play Alcaraz and Baez, first of all, I think that's going to be a great rivalry. Draper has the kind of game that can really test out Alcaraz. That match could have gone either way. It happened at the end of 2022. I saw Draper is going to be a problem for a while. Very talented guy. And he's got a big game, very solid game to back it up as well. So I go with him and Korda. Technical is there, mental and physical is the only thing lacking. So, but listen, Mickelson is a guy I'm high on. Musetti, we'll see about Fonseca. Demonor, Tsitsipas, Ruud. I still think Tsitsipas and Ruud could win a Roland Garros at some point. Tsitsipas might be most consistent at Australian Open for results. Peak-wise, I think on clay actually might be his best. I like the way he moves on clay. I like his cat and mouse game on clay. I like that his backhand can't be as rushed on clay. And he really likes, the time to set up his shots. He has good variety that can really do him well on the natural surfaces, even if grass can't do as well on clay courts, as well as on clay courts. Hopefully Felix can figure it out. It's getting tougher. I do think Ben Shelton is a big talent. He'll make it into most top 7 lists. Don't doubt why, and good to see Demonor playing so well at the moment, so we'll see how Demon can do as well. Those are my top 7, 25 and under players. Alcaraz, Sinner, Rune, Feast, Mensik, Draper, and Korda. And then, just a few other questions while we're kind of talking about the game. I might speed through them a little bit more, because with that, I didn't leave that much time. But, Medvedev is with Gilles Simon. This one will be quick. Will Medvedev win another major? What is Daniil Medvedev's spot in the sport? Talked about earlier. He is a guy who has literally crazy form on his shots. It is insane. But I think it's sometimes the guys who have this kind of crazy form we see who do climb up to like the top. These are guys who stand out. These are guys who people have no idea how to play because you don't see them anywhere else. It's a guy like Rafa with his huge RPM top spin shots. It's a guy like Roger who's playing all the time on the baseline and just inventing new shots all the time, in just the swing of a racket, and is so good at improvising and, just in control of every shot on the court, every shot in the book. Coming to net and doing fantastic at the net, and then it's a guy like Medvedev who is just an absolute wrench in the gears in every way possible in tennis. He's in between eras. He's right in between Novak and, Carlos. He's 28 years old. Carlos is 20. Novak is 36. So Medvedev is right in the middle. He has beaten both sides, but he struggles against both sides. Will he be able to win another major? He struggles, I think, against aggressive guys who also are able to switch it up and use variety like Sinner is able to now, and also like Carlos has been able to for a long time. So he's going to have it hard from a head-to-head standpoint. But listen, a guy who's won well over 80% of his matches on hard courts, a guy who beat Alcaraz in one of the most stunning, eye-opening performances that I've seen of the last 5 years, I would personally say. The U.S. Open last year, because it was much more impressive of a performance to me than almost any straight sets match I've seen in my life. Because Alcaraz, he should be beating Medvedev comfortably. And Alcaraz wasn't even playing that badly. Medvedev played so out of his mind, in his words, 12 out of 10, to push Alcaraz away. So I still think Medvedev, if he peaks, can beat these guys. Draws can open up. I think that he was one set away at the Australian Open. I think absolutely he wins another hardcourt major. And if he doesn't, to me, only one hardcourt major will be one of the biggest crimes of the sport. Also hilarious, he did it to deny Djokovic some incredible history. Alcaraz, can he pick up? Yes, I think that Carlos is going to pick it up, which kind of speaks for itself by the fact that I put him as my number one young guy in the top 7 list, just now, in my top youngsters list. But it's all the things I said. Carlos is a generational talent, and I think he has a great mentality on him, honestly, even if it's not as good nowadays. He is struggling, needs to figure it out physically as well now that he got injured, but I just think, with the run of form that he had at such a young age, from 2022 to July of 2023, that run of form just consecutively, pretty much, with a break really at the end of 2022 to the end of 2023, doesn't seem like we're going to have the same pattern this year where he really picks it up in February. We didn't. But hopefully he's healthy for the Sunshine Double and then for Clay, which he really enjoys. So we'll see, at least by Madrid, if he can win it. Nobody's ever won Madrid 3 years in a row. We'll see if he's able to do that. But I do think he'll be able to pick it up. He likes this part of the season. I hope that he's healthy, and if he's healthy, absolutely he's going to pick it up. I don't know when, but I think he'll pick it up pretty soon, actually. Best rivalries at the moment is another question that I have here. I have 3 other questions after this, just to speed through a few about the men's game at the moment. Best rivalries at the moment, Sinner Alcaraz. I love their rivalry, and I'll talk about that actually in the next video. Sinner Djokovic, Alcaraz Djokovic are amazing too. I hope we see Sinner Rafa. Rafa struggles against flat hitting guys. I think it will remind some people of the Federer Nadal rivalry. The few times they played, Sinner's actually looked good against him, even though he's been completely unmatched. Well, now Sinner's actually going to have the upper hand, but Rafa's an all-time great. Especially if we get it on clay courts, that will be an incredible match to watch between two huge talents. And like Alcaraz versus Djokovic, Sinner versus Rafa will be another GOAT taking on a youngster kind of rivalry. What's most interesting to look forward to this year? I think what's most interesting to look forward to this year, I would go with the Olympics. I think the Olympics are going to be crazy with Rafa if he plays. Hopefully Rafa's healthy. Also, Andy would be great because Andy seems to be the most amazing Olympics player ever. He won 2 years in a row on 2 completely different surfaces. So, beating Djokovic and Roger in straight sets in the first one of those, then beating Del Potro and, I forgot who he beat in the semis, but, 2 great Olympic victories. So anyway, I'd say the Olympics, it's going to be on clay. It's going to be on Roland Garros. Novak's last chance. Rafa always amazing playing for his country. Always amazing at Roland Garros. So many good players on clay. It's crazy. I named a lot of them earlier. Some of the earliest matches at Roland Garros tend to be some of the hardest matches against guys. You can get a guy like Ramos Vinolas or a guy like Sebastian Baez. There's so many guys who play well on clay courts. So many European, South African players who often practice on clay courts growing up. So even if clay isn't their best surface, at least they can play on clay. And, I think that that's just going to be incredible from start to finish. Alcaraz, Sinner playing so amazing now. They're going to be trying to prove himself. Alcaraz will try to prove himself on clay. They all have said they're very focused on the Olympics. And Novak, he's amazing at Roland Garros. He's amazing on clay. He's lost 8 times to Rafa at Roland Garros. And that just speaks for itself. He's 2-8 against Rafa at Roland Garros. If it wasn't for Rafa in his way, who knows how many Roland Garroses he would have won. I think it might be like Wimbledon type numbers if Rafa wasn't there. So I just think that Novak is incredible on clay courts, and at Roland Garros specifically. So I think Olympics is going to be something amazing to watch. But the big things this year, I hope we get to see more of these incredible rivalries that built themselves out. I hope we get to see a final of a big tournament between Sinner and Alcaraz, because that's something that excites me. I hope Alcaraz climbs back to his best form. We see more great Alcaraz-Djokovic matches as well. And we got a great major final in Australia, and hopefully that kind of pattern keeps up. We need to see more great major finals like this one in Australia, especially like Wimbledon final, because I think those really make up like the echelon of what the sport is, the crux of it. Great major finals on Sundays. What do I believe will make up 2024 this season? I think what will make up this season is Novak and Rafa in some of their last breaths. We don't know how many more, but especially Rafa in his last breaths, taking on the young gen. I think young gen have cracked the doors. They're in the room now. I think we really got to appreciate this moment in the sport. I said it last year when Alcaraz and Djokovic were playing Cincinnati, that we have to really appreciate this moment in the sport, because who knows how long it will last. And really, it's kind of shifted now. Alcaraz and Djokovic, people aren't talking them as much as compared to Jannik. Things keep shifting. So we got to appreciate this little moment where it feels like Alcaraz and Jannik, especially Jannik now, but I think Alcaraz will come back personally, have cracked into the doors, and now they're in the room with Novak at the top of the game. That's my opinion. Novak is still there. He's still going to win more, but I think so will Jannik and Carlos. That's why I think this kind of year will be a great year of rivalry and between young guys versus the GOATs. And that would be so exciting. And I hope that it peaks at the Olympics. That's my hope, but we'll see what all happens. It'll be exciting just to see however it pans out in, sports imperfect, but also incredibly exciting and, fair ways where people just compete for the top spot in the world. Speaking of the top spot in the world, Sinner versus Novak. Who is the best player in the world? I go with Jannik Sinner. He's genuinely, he's beaten Novak 3 of the last 4 times he's played. He's won 15 matches in a row. He's beaten Novak in big moments as well. And Jannik, since Beijing, is just a different level. He's so complete. It's hard to know how to play him. They're really similar in a lot of ways. And, Novak's had a couple weak moments in Australia, United Cup, Australian Open. Even at the ATP Finals, which Sinner lost during this run, the only tournament he's really lost during this run, he's won like 25 of his last 26 matches. He's beaten all of the top guys other than, I think, like Zverev the last time he's played him. Sinner will be looking for revenge against Zverev. It's like, it's hard to know how to play him. And, I think that, even at the ATP Finals, Sinner had a chance to win it. It's been Jannik. Jannik is the name. He's the best player in the world, and we'll see how Novak catches up. Novak will be hungry for revenge. I still think he's at the top. I think he's going to win more. Let's see how much more that is. It's one thing to be the best 36-year-old ever. It's another to win majors at an unprecedented age and all of that. And, it's this little era with Sinner and Carlos trying to take over for the next era. And I've said it before, if Sinner and Carlos at this level happened 10 years ago, they would have taken a lot of majors or several majors away from the big 3, in my opinion. I still think the big 3 are just like on another level at the moment anyway, compared to what Sinner and Carlos are at. But I just think even though Novak is getting older, he's drifting away. I think it's also the fact that Sinner and Alcaraz are beating Novak, who still is incredible, won 4 of the 5 biggest events last year in straight sets in those finals. I think they're earning these wins over Novak, and that's so rewarding to see as a fan. And I think Sinner and Carlos are earning this next era ushering on rather than Novak kind of just getting too old. I think that that's what's happening. I do think it's a new era. I think it feels earned to me, and I'm excited for it. I hope that the Sinner-Alcaraz rivalry, kind of defines what this next era is. And I hope that they keep fighting for the biggest tournaments in the world, because if they do, I think it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting to see how it all develops. But like when Borg and McEnroe stopped playing, and Connors and Lendl, people were wondering who are the next up. Like when Rosewall and Laver stopped playing, and like when people back in the day when Bill Tilden, Don Budge. But, McEnroe and Borg stopped playing. People are like, who are the next up? Sampras and Agassi. Sampras and Agassi stopped playing. People are like, who could possibly follow this up? Now we have the big three. I like Jannik and Carlos to follow this up. I'll have a video on their U.S. Open match. It's just going to be exciting to see how it all unfolds. It's a great moment in the sport, I think. And we got to market it, I think. Tennis needs to do its best to market it. I don't know if we're making the most of this moment. To market this kind of, I don't know if it's the end of an era right now. I don't think it's the end of an era yet. I don't know what will mark the end of an era. I keep trying to figure it out. I think it really comes down to specifics and really us just feeling like it's the end of an era more than anything, because we really just make up what eras are. But I think maybe when the big four only win one major in a season, maybe that will feel like the start of something. So we'll see when that happens. It'll be exciting to just see how it all unfolds. Thank you guys for watching Anthony's Tennis Hub. I'll be here for more videos. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe as well. I'll be here for more podcasts, more videos. I'll do the Sinner Alcaraz US Open match, talking about their 2022 match. That match is amazing for me. I love it. I love it. And thank you guys for supporting, for watching. I'll see you guys at the next video.